Good morning. It is Tuesday, September 17th, 2019 years from zero. I've been fact-checked numerous times with my statement of what happened 2019 years ago. So until we get that factually corrected, I will not be referring to it. Also, the Pope could be watching in Italy. You could be watching in Canada. And today, starting today, Guten Tag, you could be watching us in Germany. This is a massive day on DAZN. We're so thankful you're potentially joining us from all over the globe. Also, if you're listening on a radio station, Westwood One station across the country, we can't thank you enough. I think we're up to 37 stations, boys.
Let's go.
We are climbing. Today, we got a good one for you. Yesterday, we broke some news on the show about Big Ben being out for the rest of the year. The Pittsburgh Steelers have not called it quits, though, trading in for a corner, giving up a first-round pick where you could potentially need a quarterback if the Ben Roethlisberger Tommy Yawn thing doesn't work out. But the Steelers say, no, we still like our team. We'll talk about that. Staying in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns and the Dog Pound are all the way back. They had nowhere near a perfect game last night and blew out the New York Jets, whose quarterbacks suffer from mono. I think a terrible injury to the ankle there for Trevor Siemian. That looked disgusting. That's one of those ones I got to change the channel. I don't like those videos on the internet, like when that kid grabbed onto the electrical cord and flipped down and got hurt. I don't like seeing it. But I understand they have to show the replay. But we'll talk about the Browns. We'll talk about Greg Williams putting his foot in his mouth. Also, some phone calls from you, 1-833-622-3331. I have an interesting take on the Dak Prescott, Jerry Jones situation. Jerry Jones is an incredible negotiator, better than the guy from Pawn Stars. Just know that, respect that, and I think Dak Prescott knows that as well. I can't wait to chat with you. Let's have a Tuesday, potentially the greatest Tuesday of all time. Evan Foxy, play some Chase Rice.
It's the perfect occasion for a mental vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Thank you so much, Chase Rice, my favorite country musician. Number 2 is Clayton Anderson, good friend of ours, but Chase Rice made an absolute banger. To see the behind-the-scenes footage of that all coming together and last week's entirety of a cluster truck of a show, from traveling from here to Winston-Salem to hot wiring the studio every day to see if we can get on air, to not being able to answer phones, Evan Foxy captured it all in a captivating vlog about the behind the scenes of our first week. That can be found on our YouTube, which is
youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show.
It's worth it. Foxy put in a lot of hours on that thing. Kid doesn't sleep much. He gets a lot of things wrong. His beard looks good. Michigan State stinks at football.
Bad football team.
Bad football team. Kirk Cousins, their greatest export, stinks right now at football. Not a lot going good for Foxy, but these vlogs that you've been putting together have been something special.
I appreciate that. We live a dumb life, and it should be captured, so I'm glad everyone can see it.
Everybody can check that out. Shout out to Roman for putting up the money, basically, for us to be able to do our fall schedule. If you're looking to last longer in the sack, you got to do that.
I think we all are.
Todd's dating a lady about 20 years younger than him. You can't be a quick draw McGraw in the bed, so you need to use those
I
roller
order
swords.
them by the pallet.
Let's get to it. Last night. What a night for Odell Beckham Jr. And I say this as a guy who, am I a fan of Odell? I'm not sure. I think he's an incredible football player. I've never got a chance to talk to him in real life other than how the media portrays him and how social media portrays him. I assume he and I would have a hilarious conversation together. But after what Greg Williams, the D coordinator, said a week ago, where he said that Odell wasn't a dynamic player. Odell who, basically, after it came out that Browns players told Odell that they were told specifically by Greg Williams to take him out the year prior when they played. Just an interesting storyline. Plus, you had the fact that he's back in MetLife Stadium, where so much of the Odell Beckham Jr.
saga
Yeah, legend has happened. The one-handed catch on Sunday Night Football happened there. The net thing happened there. Just so much happened there. So it was a big night for Odell Beckham Jr. And Dwight Freeney told me when I was young, when the lights go on, the stars come out.
Oh.
That's what he said. Primetime games, if you want to find out who the stars are, watch the primetime games. That's where you make a play. So if you look back at Dwight Freeney's career, I would assume every primetime game he had at least one sack. That's just the way it works. When the lights come on, the stars come out. Odell Beckham Jr. goes back to New York, back to his stadium, and he's on Monday Night Football after a loss, after all the speculation with the $350,000 watch. He wears a $2 million watch in warm-ups. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, I wipe my ass with $2 million watches.
Troll.
Complete troll job. And then he goes out and makes that one-handed catch, which I thought there was a potential bobble there for his left foot getting inbounds and then his right foot getting inbounds. And they ran hurry up there the next play, so they couldn't challenge it. Adam Gase could have potentially challenged that, by the way. Who knows what he was worried about? Probably his fifth, sixth string quarterback. He's got enough going on over there. But after watching it again, I think he literally just snagged that thing out of the air. He is an incredible talent, but all the other stuff is just kind of distracts from that, I think. I think people forget how good he is. And by people, I'm not talking about us, sane-minded individuals.
Yes.
I'm talking about the people that get riled up over the stories off the field. You know, like the pizza night with the lady and the potential salt that was laid out there. You know, like and all of the other stuff, because Odell does a lot of good with his money too. I mean, he donates a lot of stuff to a lot of high schools and all of that. But when he gets on the field and he's healthy, he is dynamic. Good for him. Good for Baker Mayfield. Also, good for Freddie Kitchens. Don't let it be forgotten about that. The Hut Gut went on open on air and said that he thought Greg Williams would have been a better head coach than Freddie Kitchens. He was the guy that was supposed to be the head coach. He ran everything. Freddie didn't do anything. Greg Williams, D coordinator over there, he didn't lose his quarterback to mono. He could have stopped him. Couldn't do it. And the Browns didn't look that great, to be honest. Like, I don't think they had a perfect game, anywhere near a perfect game. They are somewhere low. They can still continue to climb. Good for the dog pound.
No, it was good for the Browns because you win the games that you're supposed to win, and it was an easy win. There were no point in the game did it feel like the Jets ever had a chance, but the Jets are an absolute dumpster fire. Like, their line was horrendous. Le'Veon had to touch the ball, I think, 40 times, and it looked like he was crying at the end.
Well, news is coming out that it's all speculation, and we don't speculate on this show.
No, definitely not.
Never.
But other people are saying that deep in the pits of the drama land, Le'Veon Bell's baby mama is potentially currently trying to become Antonio Brown's lady, from what I've been told.
She put up an IG post, and the geotag was from Foxborough, and she said that its business has been booming for a long time, so people looked into it. But I don't think
Lev Bell, though. Lev Bell is in Pittsburgh. Okay, I want 17 M's. They offer 14 or something like that. 3 M's off a year. Makes a rap song in his front yard where his boy tosses the key, tosses the ball. They hop in the car, they leave. He decides to hold out because he has to for the next generation of running backs. This is what I got to do. Makes a rap album, goes on yachts. Then he ends up getting paid by the Jets. They got a young quarterback in Sam Darnold. You're in the big city. Now you're a New York rapper. You're not a Pittsburgh rapper. Even though Pittsburgh's rap scene is a real one, New York rappers might have a little bit better cred in the streets currently. Then all of a sudden your starting quarterback gets mono. You get your ass kicked on Monday Night Football. And then you find out that your baby mom is potentially dating your old teammate. It's a rough couple days for Lev Bell, but nothing but positive vibes over here, Slime, is what he always says. I hope that's the case because Le'Veon Bell is a special talent when he's on the football field if he can get loose. I just hope he can. He looked like it wasn't the same old Lev Bell, by the way. I think when you're at the Steelers, a team that is potentially good and can do good things, you're much more willing in his style to kind of do more, right?
Yeah,
because his running style is a high-risk, high-reward style of running. I'm going to be very patient all the way up until the last minute before getting hit. Boom, and then I'm gone. I'm elusive. See you later. Are you willing to risk that you're going to be off an eighth of a second for a team that looks like they might be competing with the Dolphins for being the worst team to ever step on an NFL field? I don't know if you are. I honestly don't know if you are.
Think about.
Is he making business decisions, which he did last year? That's something to think about. And would you blame him? Would you blame him if you're Levy? Now, granted, there's something to be said about getting paid a lot of money, which he is, to go out and work hard and play hard every single day, which is what you should do. Let's not say that isn't the case. I think you should work your ass off if you get rewarded. But, boy, if you play a position that could potentially get killed on every play,
Right.
it'd be tough for me to be like, yeah, I'm going to sit here and just hope a guy blows me up while we can't even move a ball an inch. And then they finally get that big play early with Simeon. Hold, bring that thing back. It's like Jets fans are like, damn! They had a kicker that made a kick, though, for the Jets. That's a little bit of a positive. And that place went bonkers.
Bonkers.
That place went crazy. I love it whenever that happens. They might have found their love. Maybe Sam Ficken, who went through a battle of the yips and had to go and sell some technology just a week ago, is the right guy for the Jets job. But the case and the question is, will they win a game? I just don't know.
They play the Dolphins twice.
Hey, that's the Mega Bowl right there. That's like Jackie Moon's Mega Bowl. They should listen. If both teams had any self-awareness, which they won't and can't, if they would market those games as a battle for the number one pick, I think that it could potentially generate a little bit of buzz. You know what I mean? Like, let's call it what it is. We stink, but this team potentially stinks more than us. We need to stink worse than them so we can potentially get a quarterback that could turn this around. Now, granted, they won't take Sam Darnold. I don't think they would take Tua because they got faith in Sam Darnold. But that number one pick, you can trade a lot of things for that number one pick and get a lot of assets for your team. Everybody's going to want that number one pick.
If the world aligned correctly, that game would be on Monday night, so I could hear Booger talk about these two teams.
Okay, a lot of chatter about, and maybe it's just my Twitter mentions because we made such a big push for the Monday Night Football gig. If you're new to the show and don't know anything about me or us at all, there was a pretty larger than expected push for me to get the Monday Night Football gig after only calling one NFL game last season. It trended on Twitter for 10 hours. Who passed away?
Luke Perry.
Luke Perry passed away, and it was McAfee for Monday Night Football and Luke Perry right there at the top of the trending charts. Rest in peace to Luke Perry, by the way.
Yep.
Sorry we had a little bit of a campaign, grassroots movement happening the same day of his passing. Rest in peace to him. But every time a Monday Night Football game happens, I just get mentioned, boom, 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 boom. Should have been you, should have been you, should have been you. And after learning what I've learned now about broadcasting, I mean, I think 4 or 5 games all you really need to learn how to do the job. I mean, I don't think I'm there yet, but I think in a few weeks I'm going to have it pretty well figured out. I think that is a fun position, but I have a lot more respect for what Booger and Joe have to go through. I have a lot more respect for what they have to go through about the stuff happening behind the scenes and this and that. But it is a topic of conversation, I think, until they figure out that Monday Night Football booth. It's going to be a chatty subject.
Well, he was criticizing Baker a lot, and when he was doing it, they would go to the telestrator, and he'd be like, Baker's very, very confused here. The DN's going to drop in the flat here. The DN didn't. DN rushed. Then he'd be like, Baker was confused here by the coverage. They're clearly here in a cover two. And anyone who's played football before saw that it was not a cover 2. It was clearly a cover 3. So, like, he was getting crushed for stuff like that, where you're supposed to be the expert in the booth and informing the viewer, and you're just telling them lies.
Well,
he got the score wrong like 3 times. I mean, beyond that advanced level of commentary.
Listen, let's give him a break, see if he settles in. He's probably nervous, too. That's a big-time gig, right? Monday Night Football has a lot of eyes on him. Let's see if they figure it out. Speaking of a lot of eyes on somebody, the New York Giants just made an announcement. Daniel Jones officially starting quarterback for the New York Giants. That means that the Eli Manning potentially career is over. Let's give a big shout out to everything Eli was able to do on a football field. Attaboy, Eli!
Took down the evil empire twice.
Attaboy, twice. Not just one time, twice, with Bill Belichick having multiple weeks to prepare for him. Eli Manning had an incredible high school career. Way to go down there at Ole Miss, too. Had a great career there. He's in a family that is built for greatness basically since they were children. I think he was in a Reebok commercial maybe when he was 4 or 5 years old. I mean, shout out to the legendary stories you hear about Eli off the field back in the day. And now, after winning 2 Super Bowls and being traded from the Chargers to the Giants on draft night after a career that has lasted
2003, 16.
We are an expert show.
It's almost 17 years?
17-year career. We think. We just
Same class as Ben and Phil.
Yeah.
Whenever they were drafted.
What a hell of a run there for Eli Manning. Congratulations, buddy. The writing's been on the wall here for a couple years. McAdoo, who, let's not argue and say he's a good coach. He wanted to do it, put in Geno Smith, got booed out of a job, literally by all of New York. I think this year it'll be different because of the promise that Daniel Jones showed in preseason. It'll be a nice handing of the torch, I believe, in the fans' eyes. How Eli likes it, who knows? He might hate this whole thing. We have no idea how he's feeling. He doesn't. Every time he comes out, he says the Manning answer for everything, which is just the right answer. That's what the Manning family does. They're always professional, consummate profession. Don't be a distraction. But in this moment, I would like to know how he feels. Will he stick around and mentor him? Will he really try to mentor him? Or will Eli be like, you know what, time to go start this post-football career? Who knows? I mean, I assume he'll help out Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones ain't going to be playing defense for him. That defense stinks.
Do you think maybe they look at the schedule? So they have Tampa this week, and then they have the Washington Redskins next week, and they're like, oh, this is a nice little break where we can play some teams that we could actually potentially win against for Daniel Jones to get his feet wet instead of coming in against, like, say, the Cowboys or something like that.
Well, who does he have after those 2 weeks? It'd be funny if they have him play these 2 weeks, get a couple good, easy wins, and then it's a tough team. Like, all right, let's put Eli back in.
Vikings at the Giants.
Yeah, let's just let Eli go ahead and battle the Vikings. All right, let's start picking games here. Eli, you'll be a human shield for him. No, I think that everybody should have a lot of respect for Eli, obviously, but good for Daniel Jones. This is good for him. This is hopefully one step to goodness for the Giants. They had Shermer on Francesa's show yesterday, too. Maybe they're trying to extend a hand to the sports pope. We'll never know. That's big news in the sports world, though. Eli Manning, done as a New York Giant and probably as a foosball player in general. Adam Vinatieri, complete opposite. Everybody tried to spin up these rumors. The media tried to spin up these rumors that he was retiring. Did I troll it a little bit? Possibly. He's coming back, going to be better than ever. Happy for the GOAT. Happy for the GOAT. And if he isn't, by the way, Vinny has earned the right to do whatever the hell he wants.
Yep, agreed.
Eli Manning, some would argue, did as well. But these last couple years have been tough watching. Good luck to Daniel Jones. Out of Duke. We'll be back on the other side with more conversations. Also, your phone calls. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Tuesday, September 17th, 2019. A lot of conversation about the quarterback position recently here in the last couple minutes because Daniel Jones has officially been named the starter for the New York Football Giants. Does it matter? No, because their defense stinks. But Saquon Barkley's an incredible talent, and it's definitely quarterback news. Also, I have some heartbreaking news to report. Darren Ravel says that $2 million watch that Odell was wearing was a fake.
Come on.
A fugazi, a fraudulent watch, not a $2 million watch. Complete opposite, by the way, probably a $10 watch.
Same old brownies.
Stop it. That does not mean anything. Joining us now, Matt from Massachusetts, also known as Matt Hasselbeck, 18-year NFL quarterback, guy who I get to share a booth with every Thursday night with Adam Amin and Molly McGrath. Mr. Hasselbeck, Daniel Jones being moved to starter. Is this just save Eli Manning from killing himself, or is this good for Daniel Jones?
Yeah, it's a surprise. Think back to when they did the draft. They said, listen, we're going to do what Kansas City did for Patrick Mahomes his first year. We're not going to throw him to the wolves. We're going to, Patrick Mahomes sat on the bench essentially the entire season, backing up Alex Smith. Alex Smith had a good year. The Chiefs had a good year. The next year, they unleashed Patrick Mahomes when he was ready.
Ooh.
But I think Daniel Jones plays a little bit too well in the preseason. He played so well that they're kind of like, you know what? I don't know if we can wait for this guy. But like you said, Pat, I think the defense is the real problem for the New York Giants. I think they're ranked 28th in the NFL right now, and that was some of the worst defense I've ever seen against the Dallas Cowboys early this year.
I have a question. Does preseason football stink? Like, when I say that, I mean, like, I've watched a lot of bad quarterbacks in my eyes go out and not do too shabby during preseason football, especially this year. There was nobody playing. Is preseason a really good indicator on how Daniel Jones is going to be? Because when he was drafted, the whole world lost their mind. What? We're drafting who? This kid stinks. I don't want this kid. He's so boring. What a loser. That's what people were saying. Then in preseason, he balls out, and people start to turn around. They're like, wait a minute, were we wrong here about Daniel Jones? But I'm arguing, ain't nobody playing preseason football anymore, Matt. You might be too old and too far out of the game to know this, but is that a really good indicator or not?
Man, I don't even know where to start with what you just said. All right, one at a time. Dwayne Haskins was so good at Ohio State that people freaked out when the Giants didn't take Dwayne Haskins. He won a bunch of games. He broke all of Drew Brees' records. Daniel Jones couldn't even have a winning record at Duke. His team at Duke was awful. So it was like, dude, you couldn't turn Duke around. How are you going to turn the New York Giants around? So that's part of the reason everybody freaked out. Now, they freaked out too much, and then when he had the good preseason, they freaked out too much the other way.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of a little bit of a market correction. So that's the first thing that I would say.
Wow.
The second thing is a lot of times in preseason games, and I would do this myself, like, you're just going to play about 7 to 10 snaps. So you're basically going in with his mindset of like, you know what, just don't get hurt. Just get out of here. Don't get hurt. But you don't play that well. I saw Jimmy Garoppolo do this preseason. He looked really, really bad. Marcus Mariota looked really, really bad in the preseason because they've kind of taken this mindset of like, hey, I'm just coming into this game and I'm just sort of trying. Like, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. I think that's a terrible way to play. I've played in preseason games that way, and I've played awful. I've also played really, really well in preseason games when I thought it was my only chance to play. My first 3 years I was in Green Bay. I knew Brett Favre was the starting quarterback. I went in with the mindset like, dude, you are never going to see the freaking field again. You better ball out. This is your Super Bowl. And I played much better that way. And I'm sure that that's kind of the mindset that Daniel Jones probably took into this preseason. Like, hey, everyone thinks I'm the worst pick ever. They already told me 100 different ways. Eli's going to be the starter all season long. You know, you just try to work on yourself. And he came out, had a little pride, had some ability, threw on time, has better weapons than he had at Duke, and he looked amazing in the preseason. So can you chalk it up as like, oh, you played great in the preseason, you're going to be great in the regular season? No, you can't. But there was enough there. I mean, he played as good as any quarterback could play in that preseason, and I think that's why they've accelerated the decision. Plus, they're 0-2, and they've looked just awful to start the season, and pressure's mounting. So there you go.
Did you think that Eli is going to be upset about this? Or do you think he understands and saw the writing on the wall? Because, I mean, they tried to bench him before for Geno Smith. Very different situation here. They didn't spend a first-round pick on Geno Smith. He was brought in after getting punched in the mouth at at the Buffalo Bills. Or was it where did he get punched in the face? Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the locker room, he got punched in the face, which, by the way, I don't know the story behind it, but anytime your quarterback is getting punched in the face by somebody in the locker room, probably not a good locker room culture, if I had to guess. So it was a very different scene whenever Geno got brought in for Eli. It sounded like the Giants fans were like kind of upset about it. Not kind of, they were definitely upset about it. They thought they were disrespecting Eli. Eli handled it with grace, but I'm assuming behind the scenes, whenever he got called back in, he thought, okay, they kind of screwed me before, but I'm going to go ahead and get loose now and I'm going to play better. Do you think this is hard for an older quarterback to be told, like, hey, you know what? It's time, man. Just time. It's time to go ahead and go out to the pasture and watch this young, smarter bull kind of roam around with all the cows. Not your time anymore.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's complicated, right? It's not just a quick, simple answer. But I would say this: you'd rather people be straight up with you than be sort of like a charity case. Like, you know, you'd rather people be straight up and just say, hey, man, someone else gives us a better chance to win. Someone else is more mobile, and the way our offense is right now, what might help our run game more, what might help our offensive line more is someone who can break a tackle, make something happen, you know, off-schedule plays, something like that. You would rather that than, you know, someone just say, hey, listen, there's going to be a statue of you outside this stadium someday. A bunch of us here are wearing Super Bowl rings because of you. So therefore, we just owe it to you. We're not going to replace you. Like that's, I think, unfair. That's even worse. So, you know, and I think for Eli, probably in the back of his mind, he's been on great teams before. He knows that this is not a great team. This is not a playoff team. So he knows that, like, okay, you think I'm the problem? Like, and you'll never hear this from Eli Manning. He's too classy, whatever. He's too polished. But, you think I'm the problem? You think I'm the issue? Okay, well, I'll just sit out, and let's just see if that means we start winning games. And he probably knows that that's probably not what it equals. And so everyone will find out, like, okay, yeah, you know what, our bad. Maybe that wasn't the problem. But it's interesting, the timing. Week 3, I don't think anyone thought Week 3 would be the time. And he goes down to Tampa, which is not the most, you know, formidable opponent, but they're not terrible. You know, they're it's just kind of it seems like a benign matchup. You know, it's not like they're saying, hey, we need you to go into some, like, really, really tough situation. There should be a lot of Giants fans there. I would imagine, you know, in Florida, there's going to be a lot of people that want to say, hey, I was there for Daniel Jones' first start. I think it'll be a pretty decent environment for him to, you know, to get off on the right foot.
I think so too. You know, Eli's like, if Eli is thinking how you're thinking, oh, you guys think I'm the problem? I'll just sit back and watch. And then Daniel Jones runs off 14 straight right here. That would be quite a mental test. We thanked Eli earlier in the show for his incredible career, everything he's done. He took down the evil empire twice in Super Bowls. I mean, that's enough to win basically the entire country over. Excited to see what he does next. Let's transition now to last night's
game. Hey,
game.
real quick. Any truth to the rumor of Eli to the Jets? What do you think?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. They're on quarterback 7 right now, and the good thing.
Have you heard that rumor, by the way?
No, have you?
Oh, well, no, I just started it.
Matt Hasselbeck of NFL Countdown says that he has heard from an anonymous source that the team that plays in the same stadium is thinking about saying, hey, we are in a bad spot in the quarterback room. Let's get the old Buick from the Giants.
Listen, I actually didn't put any thought of this. It just popped into my head right now. But, you know, people said that Adam Gase got that job on Peyton Manning's recommendation. Oh. You know, Peyton Manning woke up the owner and said, hey, this is the guy you got to hire. I mean, like you said, you're already living in Hoboken or wherever you're living. Kind of makes sense.
Archie, too. Archie's probably, you know, because Archie got him out of the Chargers, got him over to the big city, didn't like the East Coast bias potential working against the Manning family. I could see Archie right now calling up old Adam Gase going, You want to get my kid over there?
Hey, listen, he's been traded before. That's all I'm saying.
He has on a pretty big night. All right, let's go to the Jets. Let's talk about the Jets. More specifically, let's talk about Baker Mayfield beating up the Jets last night with a not-so-perfect game. I saw Orlovsky this morning on Get Up losing his mind about their third down statistics and how Greg Williams was beating Baker Mayfield mentally from disguising coverages and things like that. Is that just something that a young quarterback has to deal with? Like, he's in his second year now. Is he expected to understand what coverages are, or can any defensive coordinator at any given time confuse even the greatest of quarterbacks?
Yeah, I like Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to be fine. You know, sometimes when you're playing that kind of a game, the other team's really struggling. They're not even crossing the 50-yard line. They don't even have positive passing yards. Like, they had negative passing yards for much of the game. And so you play the game a little different. You play maybe a little more conservative. You're going up against Greg Williams, who is he's the definition of a junk ball defensive coordinator. He'll throw all kinds of crazy stuff at you, and it's tough to go against him. I've played against Greg Williams many times. He's one of the harder guys to game plan for because you really just don't know what you're going to get, and he's going to take risks. Like, he's a guy that hopes to score on defense. He's hoping for a sacked fumble on defense. And it's kind of a feast or famine. It's kind of a live by the sword, die by the sword defense. So I have no issues with Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's a very good talent. I love his accuracy. I think the biggest thing he brings, though, is just like hope. You know, and his teammates believe in him. Like, there's so many quarterbacks around the league right now. Like, you mentioned a quarterback getting punched in the face in the locker room. That's partly because the guys resent the fact that they don't believe in you as the quarterback. I think that's sort of the opposite of Baker Mayfield. Like, that team, that city, that building, they believe in him. He's going to be fine. I don't worry about him at all. I think people are being a little too unnecessarily critical on him. He's going to be fine.
When you were in your 10th year and plus and stuff like that, was there times that you did get defeated by the D coordinator? Like, I feel like the thing about veteran quarterbacks is you always see them dissecting the entire defense. And I was very fortunate to watch Peyton worked for a while, and his backup quarterbacks had homework assignments, basically, where they would have to watch film on the opponent, and it was like, okay, if the corner is lined up just with this foot back instead of this foot back, 90% of the time they're in cover two, this person's going to drop back in the zone. Is that accurate in saying that veteran quarterbacks, they can be defeated, but they just learn how to study different things to figure out what the defense is doing?
All right, let me tell you how it'll go. Like, let's see if I can do this quickly. So basically, when you break down, get ready for an opponent, you watch their last 4 games. Some quarterbacks that work really, really hard, they might watch their last 6 games. Defensive coordinators know that. So they know the best thing they can do is bring a couple blitzes that they haven't run in the last 4 to 6 games. So when you're a veteran quarterback, someone of the stature of, say, a Peyton Manning, you tell your backup quarterbacks, hey, I got a homework assignment for you. I need you to go watch every single game, and I need you to make sure that they haven't brought any blitzes that we don't know about in our 4 to 6 game breakdown. And that's basically your job, and you do it because Peyton Manning tells you to do it or Tom Brady tells you to do it. And so you go and do that homework assignment, okay? And it's kind of a ball buster. You don't enjoy doing it. But something will come up. Let's use Tom Brady as an example. I'm sure Brian Hoyer came to him at some point last year or this year. It's like, hey, Tom, guess what? This happened 2 times week 2 from 2018. Okay, got it. And that's that's really valuable to have a backup quarterback that will do that kind of stuff for you. And those veteran guys usually have guys in the room that support them. Not every quarterback room is set up that way. Not every young starting quarterback is going to get, like Daniel Jones probably isn't going to get that kind of help from Eli Manning. Although I could be wrong. Maybe he does. But so it's those types of things that help a veteran quarterback, sort of be ready for something that the defensive coordinator thinks, well, there's no way he could be ready for this. And that's sort of what you talk about, or what people mean when they talk about, dissecting a defense on film study and making it happen on the field.
Yeah, it's interesting to me, watching that all unfold in front of my eyes. I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense that that's what you would do. That's why whenever Tebow wasn't getting backup roles and Kaepernick wasn't getting backup roles, my excuse was always like, it's more than just being able to throw the ball if the starter gets hurt. It's more than just being able to run a scout team. There's a lot of other intellectual stuff. Not saying that Tebow or Kaepernick wouldn't or couldn't do, but that also gets brought into the fold whenever you're talking about teams wanting to be great instead of just good. Now let's move forward. By the way, I'm wearing glasses right now, man.
I like those. You got to protect your eyes, man. Protect your eyes.
Propaganda's getting to me, man. The propaganda's getting to me, and it might not be propaganda. It might be real news. I'm not touching another vape for the rest of my life, I don't think. We were down in Winston-Salem last week for that Wake Forest UNC, which is, some would argue, the home of tobacco. And I think Big Tobacco is very anti these vapes. And at night when I was trying to sleep, I'd watch the news, and it was just one hit piece after another on those vapes, just showing it was like whenever they ran these commercials. It was like that on the thing, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing it again. So I stopped with that. And then now I'm getting all these things because we have a great deal of movement, and I'm getting all these stats sent to me about how when people just stare at their phones all day, it's really ruining their eyeballs. And I stare at my phone arguably more than any other human on earth. I would argue that is the only reason why this show happens is because how often I'm on my phone.
It's a fact.
And my eyes at night, I'm getting old. I got hemorrhoids. My eyes get sore. Things are happening. So propaganda's getting me. I got these glasses on. I'm not vaping anymore. Maybe I'm about to be the most healthy me I've ever been in my entire life, and I'm excited for that. Go on. Matt?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm laughing, man. I'm chuckling. I'm laughing out loud. Big Tobacco, though, very powerful. Very powerful.
Very, especially down in Winston-Salem. I mean, very, very powerful down there. You're a professor now. Can we talk about you being a professor at Boston College?
Yes. Graduate level professor. I'm teaching a sports media and public affairs class at Boston College, my alma mater. Truthfully, I should probably be taking this class, not teaching this class. But it's been great. It's been great. I've got bringing guest speakers, using some technology. Kind of embarrassing my first class because I've been more of like a, Microsoft guy in the past, and I'm moving over to Apple. And like my kids are like, Dad, you got to get with the program with Apple products. I'm like, okay, deal. So I got a MacBook now, and I'm in class or whatever. And the adjustment, I'm 43 years old, so twice in the class I needed students to come up and help me with my brand new MacBook.
It's a great way to lose power and prestige over those students of yours. I think it's hilarious. Matt, I can't thank you enough. I'm excited for down in New Orleans on Thursday night. We got Houston, Dana Holgerson flying into town to take on Tulane.
Green Wave.
Green Wave, of course. And I'm assuming you're doing all the research to really make sure that we put on a good game out there.
Hey, I'm on it. I'll just tell you real quick, one of the most exciting, explosive quarterbacks in the country, De'Aaron King for Houston, reminds me of Kyler Murray, but maybe a better runner, if that's even possible. And then for Tulane and the Green Wave, they have seven of the best running backs I've seen, and one of them is like an Olympic track star. So it should be a lot of offense in this game.
That's what we're here for. Thursday Night Football on ESPN. This Thursday out of New Orleans, live at
8 o'clock.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Can't wait for that. Thank you so much, Matt. We appreciate the help.
All right, guys.
See ya.
All right, see you.
He's an interesting dude, man. That whole younger guys doing homework assignments for the older guys, I don't know if that ever gets talked about enough. That's real, though. I would argue that Peyton Manning was the Peyton Manning that we saw on Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays in America. England, Canada, and Mexico. I don't know if he played in all those places. Japan. He played in Japan one time. Because of the amount of knowledge that he had, he was considered a tactician and a smart guy. There was a lot of research that went into that. He just was like, feed me information. So anytime he saw anything, it was almost like he was like, boom, Jim Sorgi told me that 10 days ago. You know what I mean? Like that's an incredible talent to have. Eli now, I would assume he had his backups doing that for him if Peyton's doing it. Mm-hmm. So now will Eli fall into that role? Good luck. I mean, imagine asking Eli, like, hey, man, you're getting benched, and now we're expecting you to kind of do what Daniel was doing for you for a couple weeks.
He seems like I'm already rich.
Eli is a good guy. I think that's why everybody likes him. Good quarterback, too. End of an era. We'll get to the phones on the other side. I want to hear what you're thinking about, what you want to talk about. Paxton Lynch is visiting with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the guy that looks like the V for Vendetta guy. He was a great quarterback coming out of college. Nobody really knows what happens. Pittsburgh Steelers are on their ropes. The Pittsburgh Steelers are trading number 1 picks in the future for corners. The Pittsburgh Steelers aren't giving up hope yet. You signed Paxton Lynch, though. I might argue it looks like you guys are quitting completely. 1-833-622-3331. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. you. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Tuesday, September 17th, 2019. A lot of conversation about Monday Night Football and the dog pound being all the way back, the Jets being all the way back to terrible, and Daniel Jones moving to starting quarterback over Eli Manning. Possible trade scenarios. I thought, or actually Matt Hasselbeck made up the rumor from ESPN to the Jets is possible. Diggs during the commercial break said,
The Jacksonville Jaguars, Tom Coughlin, but I think they have trust in Gardner Minshew.
as they should, by the way. Rex Ryan said yesterday that during that 2-point conversion, I would have given the ball to the guy with the mustache. When I say this, I mean this. If you're willing to do the things that Gardner Minshew does, you have a lot of confidence. You're like Baker Mayfield. You're a guy that's going to get the job done, or you're not.
He has a little bit of Baker light.
He's like one of the smartest dudes of all time, though, I guess. I guess he's like one of those super geniuses. He came from Mike Leach's program. I talked to one of the Jacksonville Jaguars scouts on the field, Wake Forest UNC night, whenever I talked about yesterday how I don't like going down the field because all those conversations happened. I actually got something out of it. He said Gardner Minshew, as a rookie quarterback, had 0 MAs all offseason. So 0 missed assignments, 0, like literally his brain was just, as soon as he got there, he was ready for an NFL team. That's something to be proud of. Also, he wears jorts.
Good quads you can respect.
Great quads. All right, let's go to Jarvo in Indiana. Jarvo coming to us live from a car plant. What's going on, Jarvo?
Hey, man, it's a truck plant. Come on.
Oh, hey, pretty close, though. Come on. Hey, Jarvo, what do you want to talk about, brother?
All right, so I've been listening I guess since your first podcast, everybody, and I've heard about the moldy Escalade you got.
Oh, yeah.
Does it still start?
To be honest, I'm told I'm not allowed in it. It's black mold, which they said is potentially lethal if I get around it. I sent it to one particular Graham Rahal's performance center, which is a great performance center, by the way. They've literally flipped around like 6 of my cars that I've just left sitting out. Jesus, Jarvo. You got to get away from whatever metal is screeching in the background there. But I don't know if it starts. I've never got inside of it. Why? What's up?
I just really want the engine out of it to put in my S6.
All right.
Gearhead talk.
I love what he just did right there. Big thanks to Jarvo for listening. That's not the Escalade we're giving away, by the way. The Escalade that has black mold in it was the Escalade I bought the day after I was drafted to the NFL. Almost got repoed because I had no cash still. It survived and got ran to the
Grind.
My old man's also after that Escalade.
The moldy one?
Yeah, he wants to junk it.
Well,
I told him we can't let that happen.
it ain't going to get junked.
Sentimental value.
Hey, Frank Moraldo, it ain't going to get junked. In Jarvo, I mean, the engine ain't worth a damn. That thing is just a lawn ornament, but the engine stays.
Could
Just
be
want
a
to let you
museum
know.
piece one day. You might want to put it up in some building somewhere.
In my house, yeah.
Yeah.
Forever.
Right.
Put that thing up on a thing, but we got to get the black mold out of it first.
We'll
Cut it
see
in
what
half.
happens.
Cut it in half, make it a bed.
Let that mold go.
Have a half come out of a wall.
Oh, yeah. Maybe come out of like that restaurant in
Yeah.
Toronto where it looked like Zito
yeah.
had crashed a car. The Escalade that we are giving away due to our code word contest that we are currently doing on any of our streams that you can watch, that ends this Friday. I am giving away a 2017 Cadillac Escalade that does work and does not have black mold in it. You can't get the Escalade with black mold in it. You can get the one that works, though.
Maybe a rat.
Maybe a family of rats, actually, to be honest. Brian in Champaign. What's up, brother? How are you?
What's up, guys? How are you doing?
Hey, great to hear from you. Brian was a regular caller whenever we were live on Sirius a year ago. It's great to hear back from you, Brian. How's the family? How's life? What do you want to talk about?
Family's doing great. Both kids started school. Except my wife go get a job. She's working now. That copyright law you guys have is a real pain, huh? You can't even get the show while we're on hold. Sit there and listen in silence.
That's probably not the copyright law. That is, if you watch the vlog that Foxy put together, that is 100% because we are not wired properly to be able to run a show, but we get off the ground every day, and that's a miracle in of itself, Brian.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. You're damn right.
I won't waste much of your guys' time. I just had an idea for you. You know you're doing the college football stuff.
Yep.
What about doing like a towel for the student section that says "for the brand" at one of the games?
I mean, we have a flag that we are currently
I
seeing.
know, but But one of your games, like when you're at a game, give it to the student section, and it has for the brand. And then whenever they show a student section, they'll probably be holding it up and it says for the brand.
And we can Venmo all those kids like $10 to do it. They ain't getting anything else. $10 is a lot. Now we're paying kids to guerrilla market our thing, which is getting on a program that I'm already on. Smart, Brian. Brian, that's smart. Brian, that is smart.
I like it.
We're kind of doing that with the flags. We're trying to get a flag on the program that I'm on the telecast, on the broadcast. Hasn't been successful yet, mostly because we haven't run into a place that has a super wild student section.
Right.
Cincinnati had, I guess, a pretty large one, but they didn't get a lot of airtime. The only person that got airtime last week in Wake was that middle-aged man from UNC who was losing his mind up there in the crowd. That was awesome. I love good crowd antics, man. Because as a punter and kicker, you get a chance to watch those a lot more than the actual players that are paying attention. So I get a chance to like look around and experience things. I'll never forget after I got arrested, we went and played in Oakland, and I loved the experience there. And I was kicking into the net, and this guy was this adult, this grown man, probably has a family and a job, walked down to the bottom of the stadium right there. So he's like 4 feet away from me. He has shoulder pads on, face paint, and a helmet. This is an adult. And while I'm punting into the net, he starts chanting DUI at me, right? DUI, DUI. And I was like, I stopped, I looked at him, I laughed at him at first because I didn't notice that he had, I heard the yelling, I didn't know that it was a man in full costume. And I started laughing at him. And I said, I didn't drive, man. And he like looks flustered, like I see the face like inside of his, in his helmet. And I go back to punting and he goes, D-U-S, D-U-S. And I stopped what I was doing. It was like 3rd and long. And the play was, I was literally about to go on the field to punt. And I looked at him, I said, driving under swimming? That doesn't make any sense, you idiot. And everybody around him goes, oh, buried. And I go out and I punt and I come back. And he goes, I was just joking with you, man. And it was like a sentimental moment between me and a grown man wearing shoulder pads in the crowd. And I absolutely love it. Like, I love that moment. I love the give and take with the crowd. I love whenever a crowd is an actual active participant in the game. I love that stuff. Hand out a bunch of towels, though. I think it's going to be a bit expensive. Barstool did it. It worked well for them, but I think that was quite a pricey operation. I don't know if we're there yet. We can barely get on the air. Somehow we still are. It's 10:55 here on Tuesday, September 17th. More calls on the other side of the break. More takes on takes on takes on takes. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. On the Tech Crunch. Boy, I think we are just starting to scratch the surface of what could potentially go wrong.
We only have 3 live mics in there. So the music, he has the chords that we need to play it out of Nick's laptop. but he's using it for something else. So those fucking guys just started on doing Foxy's video setup. Also, you should see the phone setup back there. Like, I don't know how that Romanowski thing is gonna work. It's just a fucking rat's nest of chords. Also, I don't have that program to play that music on my computer. I also don't know if I have the space on that back thing to even set my computer. Basically, anything that could go wrong has gone wrong and is going wrong right now. And we go live in fucking 24 minutes.
It's 400 degrees today, so Ty is going to have 4 men working around him the entire show. Look at him. It's okay. Don't worry about it. 50 seconds. Hey, 20 seconds. 3, 4, 5, 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
I'll give you a 5. No, I'll go silent. I'll give you 2 flip numbers. You can go all over. 10 seconds there. Close the door.
Go live in 5 seconds.
Live in 4.
That full video can be seen on the YouTube page. It is worth it. That Thursday Box Truck Studio might be the most chaotic put together show in the history of shows. And when I say that, I mean it. That was literally up to, you saw 4 seconds before the show. Things were just cooking. We're 4 seconds still air, they said. Diggs' microphone isn't on.
No video at that point.
No video. The guy tells me this camera doesn't work. I go, this guy. I mean, we're a minute to air, but what do you want me to do? I would like to see how other people would handle that situation.
They would quit.
I would like to see how people would handle that. Because Ty is forced to have all those conversations with people. And then this is just like whenever they have rehearsals where they have Ty and Foxy and Zito come in so they can just say, Pat's going to hate this, Pat's going to hate this, Pat's going to hate this. They send Ty out there, tell him all the information, and he has to come back and tell me it. Hey, we're live in 24 minutes. This is what I was just told. And then he just rattles off 45 things that are completely wrong. It's a good job you got there, Ty.
Yeah. Ty, what do you think Mark Madden would have said in that truck prior to the show?
Well, quite a few stooges and sellouts working in there, but they made it work.
I wonder if Mark Madden has heard your impression of him yet. For those that are watching that don't know who Mark Madden is, he's a Pittsburgh radio show host who is just an electric factory of a man. By the way, I think my seat's too low for this.
Is that as high?
Yeah, I mean, I look like a child. Everybody wonders why I don't ever sit at my desk. It's probably because I look like a 4-foot tall man.
We were told that these were made too high.
We got bigger wheels. We got bigger wheels out there.
That's what I need. All right, we're live in 30 seconds. Everybody keep it together. Hour 2 about to happen. That full vlog, Foxy did an incredible job with, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
15.
Now, granted, on the commercial, I would have added a little screen at the end, like to watch full thing, go to the YouTube, but that's asking for too much.
A little time crunch.
Do we have music?
It's the perfect occasion for mental vacation from the heart of the nation. Not your medication, 2 hours of magic. Let's give it a go. Ladies and gents, it's the Pat McAfee Show. It's the Pat McAfee Show.
Yes, it is. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Huge thanks to Chase Rice for that banger. To see all the behind-the-scenes footage of that music and that song being created, go and check out the vlog that Foxy made on our YouTube page. First hour was electric in here. Matt Hasselbeck got on the phone from Massachusetts and dialed up a lot of information that I don't think a lot of people have heard before, including myself, talking about older quarterbacks using younger quarterbacks to do homework for them. Now Daniel Jones is starting. Will Eli Manning do that for him? Who knows? Probably not, if we had to guess, because Eli Manning is filthy rich. Ben Roethlisberger out for a year, but the Steelers aren't quitting yet. They're looking at Paxton Lynch, which is making me question a lot of things. But as a Steelers fan, Anthony DeGilio, also known as Diggs, you said yesterday with a straight face into a microphone that people would hear that you're not worried one bit about Mason Rudolph leading the team.
No, I thought Mason came in and looked good, and then you trade for Minka Fitzpatrick. Defense now has 8 first-round picks on it. You lost to the Patriots, and the Seahawks by 2 with your backup quarterback who didn't have a week to prepare. All I'm saying is let's pump the brakes a little bit. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season, only 3 losing seasons since I've been born, 31 years. Let's just pump the brakes. The organization normally finds a way to be okay.
Well, and I assume all Yinzers are thinking the same thing, especially because they said, Antonio Brown, get out of town. Le'Veon Bell, don't deserve to be here. We're building around Ben. Ben's dead. Now what do we do? So it's an interesting situation.
And in this case, at least you find out probably 2 years earlier if Mason Rudolph, who you drafted to be Ben's replacement, if he can play. So if he can't, then you can address it earlier than you probably would have before.
I think we can all bet on the fact that Eli Manning is much more likely to do research for Daniel Jones than Ben Roethlisberger is for Mason Rudolph.
Without a doubt.
I think that is.
I would probably agree with that 1,000%.
So whenever you trade away your first-round draft pick next year, though, for a corner, directly after your quarterback gets Tommy John diagnosis, you're saying you're not going to need another quarterback in the first round. You're not going to draft for the future. So do they think Ben Roethlisberger's coming back, or do they think Mason Rudolph's the answer?
Hopefully both. Hopefully you like to have options because, well, Ben put out a statement that he just signed a 3-year extension or whatever, that he plans on honoring that. Knowing Ben, he's been looking for an excuse to retire for a long time. So I don't know how much I trust him on this.
Ben also noted hard worker.
Correct.
Noted hard worker. And I'm not talking about mentally because I think he does understand defenses and the offense well. But you watch him, he's a lot like me, right? I mean, granted, we'll get in shape if we have to, but if we can get the job done where we're at, like, let's go ahead and do it. Now, granted, me saying I'm a lot like Ben Roethlisberger is a hilarious concept that I do not want to be like. But I think rehab is difficult. Rehab is not an easy thing. Has Ben Roethlisberger had to do it in the past? I'd assume he seems to be hurt every single year. But I think this Tommy John one is a real pain in the ass type rehab, from what I'm being told.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, like in the majors, if a pitcher gets Tommy John, he's out for a year no matter what. And it's kind of a toss-up when he comes back.
Not normal for quarterbacks to get this. The last one to do it was Del Homey, Mr. Jake. So who knows if Ben Roethlisberger will be back. But the Steelers aren't quitting yet. Colbert and Tomlin are like, let's win now. We'd be adjudicated to our happiness if we were. That's probably what Tomlin.
That was pretty good.
Mike Tomlin is the absolute best. He's the only reason I made it into the NFL, so I thank him for everything. But this is a tough spot for Yinzers everywhere, especially because this is what they wanted. They wanted everybody gone. This is Ben's team. Week 2, which I potentially predicted, by the way, Roethlisberger got hurt. We'll see how it goes. I think Drew Brees getting a second opinion is smart, obviously. I think it's always smart to get a second opinion. But Dr. Steve Shin's name was all over the press yesterday. They're like, Drew Brees is going to go meet with Dr. Steve Shin. He's going to tell him exactly what he needs to know about his thumb. 6 weeks out, he'll be back. Then in the afternoon, Sean Payton comes out and he's like, hey, let's not say Steve Shin's end-all, be-all when it comes to thumb injuries, is basically what the Saints said. They said there's no timetable for the return. I'll be excited to hear how that goes. I did put a call in to Dr. Steve Shin's office today.
Yep.
You did.
Got the answering service. Her name was Carol. Was a very nice lady.
Very helpful.
I asked her to forward me to Dr. Steve Shin's cell phone because I have an immediate question. They're in Los Angeles. That was 5 a.m. So didn't get a response yet, but I am looking into it. I would like everybody to know that. Quarterbacks getting hurt is not good for the NFL, though. Andrew Luck retiring, big name. Andrew Luck's a big name. Once-in-a-generation quarterback. He's been touted by all the media outlets as this, the next John Elway. Got hot last year. The Colts are maybe a great franchise again. He retires. Now we got Big Ben Roethlisberger and the Pittsburgh Steelers, where it doesn't matter how you feel about the Steelers. In every city you go to, there's a Pittsburgh Steelers bar. That's because the Steelers were dominant back in the day. They haven't won in forever.
I mean, 10 years, it's a long time, but it's hardly forever.
He's right.
That is true. I mean, I guess that's
fairly recent, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that
Ben's
is
got
very
2
recent.
Super Bowls, so.
Yeah, you're right. I was wrong there. I went a little hard. I didn't mean that. But Steelers fan base is a large one. It's a big one. And now, boom, your starting quarterback, franchise quarterback, is gone. Are Steelers done? Are Steelers fans done with Big Ben, though, after everything? Is that it, going into the season, you guys are all in on the Big Ben?
Yeah.
Everybody in Steelers Nation was, or is it just kind of a split party?
I think everyone was all in on Ben after they got rid of Bell and Brown.
But now it's Tommy Maddox all over again with Mason Rudolph. Tommy Maddox came straight out of the grocery store, was selling insurance, was doing all these things. Don goes O'Donnell. Is that right?
No. Maddox went down when Ben came in.
Tommy Gunn also had an elbow injury, and that's how Ben started.
Oh, there it is. Perfect. I
In
knew
week
I was
2.
right. I knew I was right.
Cordell was before Tommy Gunn.
Slash. That guy can play every position, man. Hey, you can win with 11 slashes out there. Then you would only need 11 players. Play every single. What was that, Nick? You just had quite a reaction.
He was a very versatile player. He could play all over the field. Some would say both sides of the ball.
Way to break it down. The thought of Steelers fans losing Ben Roethlisberger, another blow to the NFL. Drew Brees, another blow to the NFL. Aaron Rodgers was grimacing a couple times this past weekend with the Vikings. Can't lose Aaron Rodgers. Can't lose Tom Brady. That's how the NFL is feeling. But all of these rules that we're currently living in are because the NFL lost quarterbacks in the past. They're like, we're not doing this again. This year it's starting to happen to the big-time quarterbacks. And I'm starting to think that there might be a QB shortage, by the way. I'm starting to think there's a QB shortage, which is interesting because the air raid offense in college is pretty similar. No, I don't know about the X's and O's, but it feels as if the opened up game in college is more similar to what the NFL is becoming, a more opened up game. But I think the NFL is having struggles finding other quarterbacks that can do it. Lamar Jackson, right? They've had to change their offense to fit Lamar Jackson, but I don't think every running quarterback is going to be like Lamar Jackson. Like I think that position is a hard one to find. That's why when you get a good one, you got to hold on to him dearly, ride that train until it goes off the tracks, runs out of coal in the engine, and then whammy, you bring in Daniel Jones. Eli Manning also out now. So that's 4 big-name quarterbacks that aren't playing football right now for the NFL. Going into the season they thought it was going to. We'll see how it is for marketing. Who knows?
And Nick Foles.
Oh, and big Richard Nick Foles. Completely forgot about him. The Philadelphia Eagles, world champs just a few years back, decided Carson Wentz is our guy. He was almost hurt. He was almost out. It's an interesting world right now with these injuries. Can't have injuries. Can't win with them. But I do believe that an injured quarterback gives the head coach an excuse.
Scott Van Pelt last night on SportsCenter did his one big thing on Ben and Breeze being out and all these injuries. And then Lamar Jackson plays Mahomes this weekend, and it's kind of like a preview of the NFL future as far as quarterbacks are concerned.
Yeah, every year they can build that up with Patrick Mahomes. Every game that Patrick Mahomes plays a young quarterback, like if Patrick Mahomes plays Daniel Jones, I don't know if that happens, they're like, we could be looking at the Super Bowl 6 years from now. This could be it down the line. Is this the first of many meetings for these people here tonight? Blah, blah, blah. That's always the sell. But it is nice that there's a young generation going in. But I think to find your young generation franchise player, it's going to take a couple fails. I think that's going to happen. Let's get to the phone. Here's Chaz. Is that his real name?
Chaz Reinhold.
Is that his real name, Gumpy?
From where Zito's from.
Bloomington?
That's Indiana, right?
Yeah, I think so. Let's get to him. Chaz, what's going on, bud?
Hey, cuz. Good morning.
Hey, Cuzzy, top of the morning to you. Is your real name Chaz? Is that a real thing, or did Gumpy write that down wrong?
No, it's a nickname, but it's pretty much what I go by.
I respect it. So that is your name. Great work back there, Gumpy. I would have questioned that hard. Chaz, what do you want to talk about? Is it Bloomington, Indiana, or Bloomington, Illinois?
Illinois, Zito's old
Roll
stomping
Birds!
Roll Birds, says Zito.
I went to the real ISU, though. I went to Iowa State.
Get out of town, pal. Iowa State
Tough
stinks.
look this weekend.
The thing I like most about Iowa State is they allowed the opportunity yet again for a punter to win the game. Roll out punt, get the two dummies on the same team to run into each other, balls out, Hawkeyes scoop, game over. Kirk Ferentz dominates Iowa yet again.
Thanks for making me relive that.
It happens. I think you kind of expected it going in there. What do you want to talk about there, brother?
So interesting phenomenon. A lot of quarterback talk today, obviously. So my fiance's brother is a freshman starting on varsity in high school, so shout out to Lucas. But a thing I'm noticing is their quarterbacks are their punters. And I've seen 5 fakes run out of this, and no one has a clue because their offense is the punt team, and the quarterback just takes an extra 2 steps. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Chaz. Riveting.
I
I mean, everybody's talking about this, the high school trend.
Well, punters are athletes.
The most athletic person on your high school football team is normally the punter and kicker, unless there's somebody from your town that wants their kid to get a scholarship via kicking and punting, and they force their way in there. They send their kid to all these kicking camps. They go to the high school coach. Oh, I sent my kid to Cole's kicking. He trained Thomas Morstead, Pat McAfee, blah, 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 and we think he'd be a good option for kicker. And then the coach goes, well, I don't care. It's a kicker punter. We're not really going to use you that often. You can be on the team. But other than that, normally it's the most athletic person on the team. Sure. So if the punter's the most quarterback is the most athletic kid on the team, normally he's going to punt. And with that being said, I do think that fourth down should be a weapon. Whenever we were doing the rugby punt in college, which, by the way, should have been called the Aussie rules punt, which now that I'm learning more about how Aussie rules football is different than what rugby is. It's two different sports, which dumb American.
Confusing.
I always thought I did rugby punt. I guess it's the Aussie rules punt. But I always thought every down should have been a potential fake. We would roll out to the right. If nobody stayed to potentially tackle me, I would run it. If somebody's coming, then I'm going to try to punt it and get it out of there. And I think that's how fourth down should be. I tried to get Chuck Pagano on that train. Then we ran a fake against the Cowboys. It was incomplete, and that kind of got all, see you later. Just like our kickoff team was potentially an onside kick, every single kick. You can make it a weapon, but what that does is it makes the other coach have to stay up at night and think about it. It makes them have to waste time preparing for that as opposed to preparing for something that Andrew Luck is doing. It makes them waste time in meetings saying, you know what, we hate McAfee, but at any given moment he could hit an onside kick, so we have to add this into the play. Those 10 minutes of adding something in are taking away from something else. So it makes the return team worse, it makes this worse, it makes everything worse. I always thought that fourth down should be a weapon, and if you have a kid that can throw, run, and kick the ball, put him back there on fourth down and see how it goes, because some of these punters stink anyway. So if your guy's bad, who cares? Owen Schmidt got a couple punts off whenever I was at West Virginia. He's a legend of a man. He hit one shank, though, and it was over because he hit his head with his helmet so hard, and Rich Rod was like, well, we're not going to have this kid get CTE because he's punting bad. But I enjoy the thought of athletes punting back there and making it an actual play that the other team has to actually prepare for. I think you should do it.
Couldn't agree more. They always put the best athlete back there.
Did you see the kid from Temple?
Were you a punter at one point?
I was all-conference punter of the year after you left.
Jeez.
It's insane that you didn't know that.
Was I all-conference? I don't even think I got all-conference.
I'm assuming you did.
I am not 100% sure. I was told on my first day with the football team, the high school football team. It was my first and only probably high school football meeting I went to. The head coach looked around the room, was doing the whole speech, and he looked me right in the eyes, and he said, "It is not my job to get you a scholarship." And he said, "That's to everybody." And then he looked back at me again. "It is not my job to do that." Hindsight, if he would have had that be a part of his job, we're probably a better football team. But with that being said, I didn't get a lot of pub there as high school. I mean, the local people come out and watch the big goon kick balls far. But aside from that, I'm not even sure I got all conference.
You probably didn't because you can only do it at one position. So you probably got it for a kicker. They were like, would you rather have secondary or punter? I was like, give me the punter.
It's a lock.
It's better for the resume.
Give me the punter. Hey, congrats. Hey.
You were tickling me right where I itched. That's not the saying.
We have one all-conference punter in here. That's pretty good. That's would be a good trivia question at some point. There is an all-conference punter in the room. Who is it? Everybody be like, oh, the guy that got paid millions of dollars to punt a football ball.
NFL guy?
Nope, the out-of-shape piece.
Go on.
Caught myself there.
Piece of work.
Hey, take it easy on yourself. Let's go to Dustin down there in Louisiana.
Hey, what's going on?
What part of Louisiana? You down there in the bayou?
Nah, I'm up north, close to Northwestern State Demons. We play LSU. Got stopped last weekend. But,
you sound like you're around a place with no phone service.
That's exactly where I'm at, in the middle of nowhere.
All right, what do you want to talk about, Dustin?
So I want to talk about players wanting off of NFL teams immediately as soon as their team starts to do poorly. Jalen Ramsey, Minka Fitzpatrick, all them, and then also the player transfer portal. And I want to get your thoughts on if that's good or bad for the sport. What's going on there?
Appreciate you, Dustin. This is a conversation. It's almost like a walk uphill both ways type thing. It's old school versus new school. The old school says this is the younger generation not knowing how to deal with any adversity in their life. This is them, as soon as problems arise in their life, trying to run away from it. This is them refusing to get tougher mentally and physically by going through some hard times. And the young guys say, hey, man, my lifespan is only so long. My athletic career will only last so long. Why am I wasting reps on teams that stink? And I know that they stink. Why wouldn't I want to transfer out or go somewhere else when I know I only have so many opportunities to present my best athletic self? Stats can kind of hurt you in both ways here. Stats are saying like, hey, if you don't leave, your potential of making the NFL is like this. If you end up on a winning team, this. Your career in the NFL, you'll get rich if you're on a good team, potential Hall of Fame, better career, safer, everything, boom, boom, boom. But then whenever people transfer, you're like, well, what are you doing? Just turning your back on everything. Well, it's interesting because back in the day, those stats weren't around. Back in the day, people didn't know that the average NFL life expectancy was only like 2.5 years or something like that. Back in the day, people didn't know that, hey, when you're on a terrible team, it's a terrible culture through and through. Every day of your life is going to suck. People didn't know that back in the day. Back in the day, it was, I'm just trying to make a team. I'm just trying to do good. I'm just trying to do this. I'm thankful to be here. I think there still are those people. Those people are just the bottom half of the roster that you never hear about. The only people you hear about are these big name players that say, hey, I'm a big-time player. I'm supposed to be on a big-time team. We don't talk about enough, though, is the big-time players that want to build a team. Matt Stafford is a guy I think about. Matthew Stafford wants to build the Detroit Lions. He wants to be the guy that turns around the Detroit Lions. Every time I've talked to him, he said that. There were some hard times there. Now, granted, he got $60 million to sign his name the first day he was drafted. That'll help out. But I do believe this is just a complete mentality of old school versus new school. Me being a punter, a guy that felt very thankful to have a job, a guy that had no idea how to punt when I got drafted in the NFL, I was just thankful for my job. I was just thankful to be a part of a team. But that year we were 2-14, there was a couple times where I thought, man, this sucks compared to winning. And if you're constantly in that situation, I could see how you get sick of it. I could see how you don't want to do it anymore. But long-term in life, that type of resiliency will probably go a long way for you. Todd, you're kind of an older man, old school guy. We're in the Marines. You defended the North Pole during the...
Somebody had to. You didn't know which way Saddam was going to go. Taking a route through the north.
Was that Gulf? That was
the Gulf, first Gulf War.
Yeah, which we appreciate.
Not the first Gulf War, first one we were in. There were a lot before that one. If you read the Bible.
Well, appreciate your service, obviously.
Yes,
but
sir.
you were then a state police detective for 21 years.
Yes, sir.
You are in our particular world right now, aside from Tim McAfee, who, by the way, I'll let you know, he hates everything that's happening. He hates the transfer portal. He hates the shots not being as violent anymore. He hates that. He's just old school guy, truck driver through and through. That's just what Tim McAfee is. But you, as somebody who's been baptized in the younger world, I think much more than anybody else who's potentially your age.
Right.
How do you feel about this potential avoiding adversity type thing trait that is happening across the country?
Here's how I feel about it. I don't blame people my age for resenting someone for what looks like a lack of loyalty and wanting to leave a team to go to a better one. But my reality now, after working with you, I get to know so many professional athletes on a different level.
Yep.
So now I am totally on board with them getting what they can get for themselves in this short window that they might have as a professional athlete. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and how about the college kids in the transfer portal? This is interesting to me because you only have, the NCAA rules are, you have 5 years once your clock starts. So once you enroll in a university, you have 5 years to complete 4 years of season, right?
Right.
Obviously, that can get extended with a gray shirt, a blue shirt, a red shirt. Red shirt does make it 5 years, but all these other shirts that happen. I mean, I had a college teammate. His name was Trip Hale. He was gray shirted, then he was blue shirted, then he was red shirted. He could have become a damn doctor during his time, but there's only a certain amount of time, and there's only a certain amount of spots. So if you end up going to a school, let's say you're a top-ranked guy coming out of high school, and you go to a college, and Tua just so happens to be recruited to play there in the same exact position as you, are you going to sit there, grit and bear it, and just be a backup to Tua and hope he gets hurt at some point, be the best teammate you can, get a good education, hopefully, from Alabama. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. I don't know what their education system
Probably
is.
not great.
I went to West Virginia, the Harvard of West Virginia. I mean, it's not. But become a national champion, I assume, get to work out at their facilities, get to learn from the greatest coach of all time how to handle yourself off the field and on the field. Or are you going to try to go somewhere where you can try to make it to the NFL and put on a show and become your own
Right,
Tua?
yeah.
It's such an interesting – I don't really have a viewpoint because my viewpoint is coming from the people that are having to make the decision. I think it's a case-by-case scenario. When you got these kids who come from little to nothing, we're talking streets, hood, ghetto, whatever you want to describe it as, and they're getting a scholarship because of their athletic ability, and then they get somewhere and they know that they might not be able to play there. The only way they see a way out of their former life for them and their family is by making it to the NFL. So if they transfer to a place that they have a chance to showcase their athletic ability and potentially get paid for it, I mean, how can you hate that guy?
You can't. I don't think.
Oh, well, he's not dealing with adversity. Oh, well, he slept on the floor his entire life.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
assume he has some adversity, right? Let's assume that guy has been through some stuff, and now we're at the point where he just wants to hopefully showcase his athletic ability. I think it's situations are situational.
Mm-hmm.
Wise man once said that.
That being the case, do you think on a star level, we've seen our last Barry Sanders stick it out with your team no matter what if you're the superstar?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because I think there are the guys who want to build something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Who want to be the guy who turns it around. Who want to be – I mean, it even happens in basketball. You look at the players leaving. I mean, it's something that's happening. When your happiness is a slave to success, you'll see a lot of people making interesting decisions from outside the box. And I think that's a real thing that happens in sports. We'll be back on the other side of the break. Speaking of the Matthew Stafford era up there in the Detroit Lions, I believe in a few minutes we have Danny Amendola calling in.
Oh.
Super Bowl champ, model, internet troll, Danny Amendola calling in. Can't wait to chat with him. He's a good dude. Also taking more of your calls. We got 35 minutes left of the show. We're thankful you're listening. You're listening to The Pat McAfee Show.
Skyway, readings from planet Earth. Old people keep looking at you sideways. You got fuck Trump on the shirt. Yelling out, thank God it's Friday, just so we can get to work. Really for your thoughts, cost more about a minute tour. Been a minute like I'm so uncivilized. Been 500 miles and running with the city fire. Certified since I heard a criminal, I give it time. 45, heard the way I'm living, got you mortified. More than line, pushing that hard like I'm Mordecai. Option for the flow, going 45, 50, 55, 60. I'm just watching numbers multiply. You think you know me cause you smell weed on my overcoat. You think that I'm crazy, think my generation overdose. Turn around and ask yourself what cards you dealt before you judge the poker player who's trying to make the most of what you showed him, doing all the shit he's not supposed to do. Living life like no tomorrow. Sign up for excess, we might not last. Baby, we gon' party on the way out. Probably hit a party on the way out. All the night lights, high tomorrow. They mind the road, but we go too fast. Just so we can party on the way out. Probably hit a party on the way out. Last I heard, I was killing it. Everything been coming up nice. Everybody finish your sentences. Everything been coming up right. Everybody wanna get to the pinpoint. When shit gets so concise. Ain't nobody bringing me down. Cause I'm high as fuck. And I never got time to be smelling these roses, posing questions. Hoping these mentions grow in threads. Head full of hair like Odin. Breath in the air like frozen. Potent parts of the past still in me. Look at that glass half full, half empty. Product of the generation that sent me. I might crash this shit, don't tempt me. Well, you think you know me cause you smell weed on my overcoat. You think that I'm crazy, think my generation overdose. Turn around and ask yourself what cards you dealt before you judge the poker player who's trying to make the most of what you showed him, doing all the shit he's not supposed to do. Living life like no tomorrow. Sign up for excess, we might not last. Baby, we gon' party on the way out. Probably hit a party on the way out. All the night lights, high tomorrow. They mind the road, but we go too fast. Just so we can party on the way out. Probably hit a party on the way out.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here on Westwood One Radio and DAZN Worldwide. We're on in Germany today, Guten Tag, Italy, Canada, and wherever you are listening, we can't thank you enough. Joining us now is a man I can't wait to talk to. He played college football in Texas Tech. Then he was a Ram. He was a return specialist. An absolute nightmare of a man to defend whenever you're a punter or a kicker. I hated him on the field, loved him off the field. He found a home in New England. Then he went to Miami. Now he's a Detroit Lion, turning things around for the undefeated Matt Patricia. Lions up there. Wide receiver, number 80. Classic white guy, Danny Amendola.
Pat, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. How are you, pal?
I'm good, man. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's great to chat with you, man. Watching your career from afar and over the internet has been a lot of fun because I remember like it was just yesterday me begging you to take a knee on a kickoff for a touchback in St. Louis. Now you're a world champion. You get talked about in TMZ and you're helping lead the Detroit Lions to a complete turnaround. How is it in Detroit? You guys are still undefeated with a 1-0-1 record. How are the boys feeling up there?
It's great, man. You know, it's still early, as you know, but, man, we're getting things rolling. Coach Patricia's been doing a great job getting us ready to play, getting us, physically, mentally prepared. So, we got a tough one this week. Going to Philly, they played Sunday night versus the Falcons. Everybody saw that. They're a good team, got a great quarterback. They got good receivers, good DBs. So, they're well coached. They fly around, and we're up for the challenge.
You have become a guy that when Patricia talked about finding his guys, right? I talked to Matt Patricia before Week 17 matchup against the Packers. I talked to him, and he said he wants to find people that kind of fit the culture he's trying to build there. I would assume the culture he's trying to build is similar to the Patriots because there's so much success, and both of you are from there. Whenever he brought you in, was there a pressure or a conversation you had with Matt Patricia where he was like, hey, need you to lead the guys in a proper fashion? We want a little bit of what happened in Foxborough to happen here in Detroit.
Yeah, there's definitely some carryover, when it comes down to how we prepare, how we practice, some of the things that he goes over in meetings, how we watch film, how we communicate with each other. There's definitely some carryover. Obviously, Coach Patricia was very successful in New England. He's brought some familiar faces from the time he spent there to Detroit now. So there's a few of us in the building, but we want to have our own identity. We want to, we want to be the best Detroit Lions team we can be. So, we're all in here in Detroit. We love playing hard for the city. The city's, electric. It has a lot of tradition, a lot of history in sports here. And we want to play hard, first and foremost for the city and for our team.
That city has been miserable revolving around the Detroit Lions and the Pistons. I mean, it seems like it's been an eternity since they have been good. But it also feels like a city that's ready to lose their minds for the Detroit Lions to be good. Have you gotten a sense of that? Even though it is early, is there an excitement built up around the town about the undefeated 1-0-1 Detroit Lions right now?
No question, man. No question, man. We had a great turnout last Sunday at our first home game at the opener. A bunch of fans with 1 o'clock start, man. They got out there early. I know they were tailgating. I could smell the booze. It was fantastic. They were loud. So it was awesome to get out there in front of our home fans for the first time in a regular season game. I know how excited they are, how hungry they are for a winning team and for us to have a parade down Woodward. That's what we're all trying to do.
Danny, you become such a handsome guy. You've become such a handsome guy. It's kind of taken over the Danny Amendola image as this attractive white guy who's become this superstar wide receiver. I remember when the Rams, you were just a little bum back there. That's how everybody viewed
No question.
Yeah, the come up has been a real one for you. How has your life in the NFL? There's no way you could have thought you'd be this guy that you are now. How has the entire experience been?
It's been great, man. It's been, came in undrafted, got cut 2 times before I played in my first NFL game, and played on 3 teams before I played on my first NFL game when I was in St. Louis. Started out in Dallas and then Philly, and then, finally got my start, man. I'm going on my 12th year undrafted, so I'm excited, man. I still have that chip on my shoulder, still have that competitive edge, and I want to play football for some time to come. There's still some things I want to get done, and I enjoy playing the game. I enjoy the time with my teammates in the locker room. Obviously, I enjoyed playing against you, man. You were a monster back in the day, dude. And I always loved how you would switch up what direction you were going to try to punt the ball and really screw us up. But you were a monster back there, dude. I appreciate the words.
Well, I'll tell you what, Danny, that just made me feel real good. I mean, you just scratched me right where I itch. Nobody talks about that anymore. They always talk about the guy on vitamins talking into a microphone. But I do agree. You were for new, and I know you're trying to build a new culture. I understand that. But a lot of the world got introduced to Danny Amendola whenever you were with the New England Patriots. I mean, you and Julian Edelman became this little tag team of Caucasian kids just out there making things happen on the field. What did you learn from Julian, Tom, and that relationship that you think has kind of expedited your success in the NFL?
The biggest thing I learned from those two guys specifically is, how to create a lifestyle around, trying to win football games, whether it be your workout regimen, how you prepare, how you eat, how you sleep, how you recover, how you work out, how you train, how you play the game. And we haven't even started talking about practice yet. So these guys practice harder than, anybody that I've ever seen. And that's why they've been in the league and playing at a very high level for a long time. So, that's the biggest thing I took away from Tom, Julian, and the guys that I grew up with in New England is how to create a lifestyle around winning football.
Do you eat avocado ice cream and all that terrible stuff the TB12 does?
No, I'm not. I run a lot more than him. I got to run routes all day, so I get a little leeway on my diet. I can eat some Bluebell, some real shit, real ice cream.
Shoot, yeah, real shoot. Yeah, I heard your accent there from Texas Tech. A nice shoot drop.
Oh
there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you becoming this pop culture icon that you became there for a couple months this offseason. Did you ever get nervous that everything off the field was going to distract you on the field?
Never, dude. I love I love playing ball. I love getting out there and practicing and going through camp, going through OTAs, going through all the hard stuff. And it also takes my mind off of all the other, possible distractions that could take away from that. And football's first and foremost in my life. Married to the game, and that's what I'm about. So everything else is just hogwash. And most of the stuff that has been out there, or as you see, is fabricated information. So.
Well, obviously. And Danny, after getting to know you a little bit as a person, once I started to watch you become this pop culture thing, I was like, oh, this is hysterical. I was so happy that it was happening just because you're like this incredibly nice dude. And then there's all these things start happening. I'm like, oh, this could be so much fun to watch, mostly because I am a comedian and I enjoy the internet, but also because you're a good guy. And the ability to stay at the top of your game while there's potential distractions is an X factor in people's longevity of their career. Speaking of longevity of career, Matthew Stafford has been with the Detroit Lions since day one. Now, he signed, he was drafted in the last CBA. He got $60 million day one. I think he could have bought Detroit the day after. But what have you seen from Matthew Stafford that you're like, you know what? Aside from chugging a beer fast, which Tom Brady can do, this dude has got it, and you enjoy playing with him. What has Matthew Stafford shown that has made you want to do that?
His competitive edge, really, dude, is unbelievable. His, he loves to win. He loves to, have success in practice and in OTAs and camp and in these games. He kind of lets it show. Last week he threw a touchdown pass to Kenny Golladay to go up late in the game, and he's running down the sideline pumping his fist like Tiger Woods. Man, it's great to see him fly around with enthusiasm, excitement, and his competitive edge is something that I've only seen in a couple guys. So I'm really happy to play with him. I'm really happy to get to know him, to grow with him, to learn and hopefully catch some footballs this year. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
Well, I think we all are excited to watch. We have a kid in here who's a diehard Detroit Lions fan. His
Yes,
name's
sir.
Fox, and whenever you got signed to the team, he lost his mind. He's a big fan. He's also an attractive white guy, so I think that could be the reason. But I think you're making a lot of people, a lot of Lions fans who have potentially been miserable a long time, excited about the future. What's the culture like in that locker room? Is there music playing?
Oh yeah, man, it's great, dude. It's everybody vibes well, man. We got a good group. There's no egos in the building, man. Everybody kind of checks that at the door. Everybody comes to work with some focus, with intensity, with eagerness to get better, to learn, and to prepare. So, we can play better. We made some mistakes last week. We made some mistakes the week before that. We came out with a tie the first week. We squeaked out a win last week against the Chargers. We did some good things, but we're learning and we're improving. So as long as we're growing, as long as we're getting better, that's all you can ask for. And to put our best foot forward against Philly this week is what we're going to do.
Last question before I let you go, and I can't thank you enough for your time. What did Patricia say about the tie? Was he like, "This is the dumbest thing we've ever done"? All the training.
Yeah, I mean, personally, he was pissed. Everybody was kind of pissed. I mean, we weren't so mad. We knew we didn't lose, but we knew we kind of, we let him come back. We let the door open, but we took it as a learning experience. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a tie. What's a tie? No, it's the most odd feeling you can have, much like kissing your sister. But I'm sure it's a learning experience. It's something that we're going to be able to grow from and hopefully get better later in the season. So, luckily, we made a few plays there at the end, week one, to pull out a tie. I personally don't agree with ties.
It's hard.
I think we need to have like a sudden death kickoff.
Yes.
Punt, pass, and kick type of thing. I know, Pat, you'd be up for that.
Yes, I'm all in on that. I think there should be a shootout. This is how I should go. I think everybody should be allowed to get involved here, but I think on each side, 2-point conversion attempts for both teams, one side to the other. If one makes it, one doesn't, they win. If it's a tie through 3, let the kickers get out there and start bombing some.
That's it. Longest field goal wins. Go 1 for 1. If the first one to miss, maybe you get one rebuttal, maybe you don't. But much like I feel like we should implement a little bit more of like a beer pong lifestyle here in football overtime league. So
yeah, there's no ties in beer pong. People forget.
There's no ties in beer pong.
I can't thank you enough, Mr. Amendola. Are you still returning kicks, or are you done with that because you're old?
Kicks, no. Punts, yes. Love punts, and then trying to get open in the offense and move the chains still. So having fun, man, enjoying it. Looking forward to the rest of the year.
Hey, man, so thankful you joined us. And all of those cliches about wide receivers, the high motor, first guy in, last guy out, coach's son, married to the game. I honestly believe the cliches are a cliche for a reason. I think that might have been you, but aside from that, you're a freak athlete who has grown into an incredible player. It's been fun to watch. Can't wait to see the Lions' success this year with you, and thanks for coming on, Mr. Amendola.
Thanks, Pat. I appreciate it. It's nice talking to you. Nice catching up. I'm a huge fan of yours, always have been. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to do and bring us in the future, man. I'm all on board, so I'll talk to you soon, brother.
You remember when I almost got killed outside of a club in New Mexico because I tried to hop on a guy's motorcycle?
Absolutely. Absolutely, bro. That was the first time we got I think it was at Hank Baskett's charity foundation event, golf course deal. We had a blast. Probably shouldn't have been driving the golf cart.
I almost got killed by a biker gang in New Mexico, but Danny saved my life, and here we are years later. Thank you for everything, Danny. Cheers, man.
Later, buddy.
That was a wild weekend in New Mexico. That was a wild. Turns out those margaritas catch up to you a lot quicker than you think out there. Real dry air. He's a good dude, man. I didn't want to pepper him about the off-field stuff. I mean, he was dating Miss America. I assume that's all going to follow. But I did wonder if it was ever going to be a distraction for him, because that type of stuff can get guys caught up. I mean, we've seen it since the beginning of time. And all he's done is just continue to show up and show out. I think the Lions like him a lot. I'd assume you have to.
Absolutely. Anytime you get a guy that can embrace Detroit, you got to keep him, just like Stafford.
Did you hear him say that right there, by the way? Did you hear him say that he loves to? And Stafford, whenever I did that Week 17 interview with him, he said all we want is a parade down Woodward. And when I said that out loud, a lot of Lions fans were like, it'd be nice if Stafford ever told us that. I think they're quiet guys. I think they're a quiet team that have been building something for a long time now. Is this the year the 72 Dolphins become not the only team that's undefeated? 15-0-1.
Nice.
I mean, we're going to find out. Who knows? Packers probably have something to say about that.
Yeah, they'll probably beat them twice if I had to guess.
Don't be so negative, Ty. 11:43. We'll wrap up with your calls. 1-833-622-3333. Was that too many threes? Not sure. Hey, this song stinks. You're listening to the Pat McAfee Show. Nick, you didn't deserve that.
You don't like the funky strut?
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Incredible Tuesday here. Got a chance to talk about Daniel Jones taking over Eli Manning, Odell Beckham Jr., Baker Mayfield, Ben Roethlisberger's elbows dead, Drew Brees getting a second opinion, Steve Shin no longer the expert authority on hands, and Danny Amendola joined us. I don't know if Danny talks much. Does Danny talk much?
No idea.
Not sure.
I don't know. I'm honestly not sure. I feel like we got a lot of good stuff out of there. You can get a little piece of the locker room coming through there. Seems like they're in a good spot over there. Just grinding away, trying to build a culture. Hey, don't mind us.
Stay under the radar.
We're going to take a couple calls here. Dolan from Florida. Dolan, what's up, buddy?
How you doing?
You know, I'm okay. Our phones don't work again, Gumpy just told me. So we only have 3 people on the line. That's it. So I'm thankful you got through. I've always in my entire life wanted to speak to a guy named Dolan, especially when he's from Florida.
What's up, man? How's everybody doing up there?
Oh, we're good, man. What do you want to talk about, bub?
Well, first of all, I wanted to talk about the AD situation with, being 2019. Y'all are saying AD, don't know what AD means.
Yeah.
The actual term for it is Anno Domini. It's a Latin term. And it means that the day that Christ was born. So it's actually 2019 years after the day Christ was born.
Oh, grazie. So we got to subtract 33 years there to do the math, quick math, 1914. 1,986 years after Jesus Christ died.
Yes, sir.
By the way, quick math right there. It's accurate, too. I think that math was accurate right
Checks out, yeah.
Yes, it does.
Good for me, man. Hey, a lot of people talk about those vitamins, but I feel like that was a hey, good for me. Hey! Sorry about that. Simple math. Anyways, Dolan, what do you want to talk about?
Well, the Minka and the Dolphins.
Okay.
Man, the Dolphins, I don't know what their plan is. Everybody's saying, Dolphins are tanking for Tua. But you just got rid of a guy that we just picked up 2 years ago. You want to build a young core. You just got rid of one of the best safeties coming up. Like, why are we dropping a guy that's only been there for 2 years and you're trading him to the Pittsburgh Steelers when we don't need more draft picks right now? We need to work on the offensive line. We need to pick up guys off the free agency list. Like, why are we getting rid of more players?
Great question, Dolan. What are you from Miami, or are you just a Dolphin fan?
I'm a huge Dolphin fan and born and raised in Fort Myers, Florida, but I've been to about at least 3 games a season for Miami.
That a boy. I hope you're using SeatGeek for those tickets. It's interesting to think about that because that is a young player. If you're looking to build a young culture, maybe you would keep a young guy. Gumpy, you wanted to interject there. What you want to say?
1 year. They drafted him last year.
That is such an interesting decision, but Flores didn't draft him, right? Whenever I went into my negotiation, I was told by the new regime that there's no loyalty between us because we did not draft you. I mean, a Hall of Famer did, but we did not. So that's neither here nor there. That's probably what the Dolphins are thinking too. Let's get our guys in here, just like Patricia did in Detroit. He went in there and rattled some things up with practice habits, workout habits, everything like that. And it was saying that he lost the locker room. He lost the locker room. He didn't lose the locker room. He was trying to find a new locker room is what he was trying to do. I assume Flores is doing the same thing. Now, we started cooking up a theory, though, a little bit ago, and Matt Patricia doing well with the Lions almost debunks it, but we think there's a chance that Belichick sends sleeper cells to other teams to ruin them. What's the team that they've struggled with mightily even in the recent history?
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
For some reason, the Miami Dolphins have always been a struggle for the Belichick Patriots. We need to figure out what we're going to do with the Patriots. Brian Flores comes into the room. What are you doing, Coach? I was thinking maybe, Coach, I go down and coach the Dolphins, and we just completely decimate that team. Just completely decimate it. I like that thought. You think you can do that? You don't get any Super Bowl rings for us, I don't really mind, but if you can make them a terrible team, that'd be great. You got it, Coach. I'm out of here. He goes down there, trades all their good players, completely ruins the franchise, basically, uses the PR spin of we'll get better in the future. If they don't get better in the future in the next 2 years, he's going to get fired. And where's he going to go?
Right back to New England.
A couple years ago, he was sitting in this thing. I think the Colts are potentially going to get that. McDaniels comes in. What do you want me to do, Coach? Why don't you just tell the Colts you'll be the head coach, and then Just like you did in Denver when you went out to the Broncos when they were kind of getting good, and you decided to draft Tim Tebow in the first round. And, they sucked, and then you came back. Why don't you tell the Colts to stop their coaching search? They found a guy. And then while you're on the plane over there, they'll even have a press conference set up. Just turn that jumbo jet right back around and come right back. Win another Super Bowl. You got it, Coach. I'll do it. It's an interesting thing. It's almost like Vrabel and Patricia have been cast off the island because they're actually trying to help their teams as opposed to hurt their teams. But it feels like that loyalty to Belichick is potentially the reason why Flores is making these moves. Because if they don't turn it around, he's going to be fired, and he's going to end up right back with the Patriots, just like what McDaniels did. I think it's very interesting, and all these theories are potentially true because of how good the Patriots are. That, like what I just said right there, the most asinine thing that I could possibly say about an NFL operation and a guy becoming a head coach, it could be true because that's how the Patriots are. If we didn't get to your calls, I apologize. The system broke. So Dolan was literally the last call we could get to. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m., live from New Orleans. To Hasselbeck, Danny Amendola, and to all you listening and watching, we can't thank you enough. This has been the Pat McAfee Show. Good work, team.